Well, it's good to be back addressing the Atlanta Quarterback Club. I think the first time I spoke to this group was in the 60s, back in the early 60s. And then I spoke here about 10 years ago. And I really like the atmosphere that I see today more than I did the last time. They were kind of rowdy back in those days. Y'all look a little bit more mature, thank you. But it's good to be here. Well, I have a special interest in this club because I don't think I would have ever coached at Florida State if it were not for the Atlanta Quarterback Club. Now let me tell you how that works. I was head football coach at Samford University over in Birmingham, Alabama back in 1959 through 62. It was called Howard College at that time. That's where I went to school. And it was a small college. We didn't have about 2,000 students. I think they've got about 5 now, but they don't want any more than that. They want to stay about that size. And so the Atlanta Quarterback Club, which I always felt like was probably the most prestigious quarterback club in the country. At least you have that reputation, you know. And so every year, at the end of the year, they had their main banquet. Do you still do that? Still have it, right? I forgot where it was, in January or December. But they invited all the major college coaches in the South there. And I remember they had Coach Bryant there, and they had Coach from Auburn there, Coach Jordan, and they had Bobby Dodd from there, and Coach from Georgia and Tennessee, and Diesel was there from LSU. But they had about 17 major college coaches up there. They did not invite small college coaches. I was a small college coach. Well, they don't invite small colleges, just the majors. I got invited. Man, I'm the only dadgum small college coach invited. You know what? And so I go over there, and they at the banquet, they had a level here with all these big-time coaches. Now, I was young. I was just getting started in coaching. And there I am sitting right there with them. Guess who they set me next to? Bill Peterson, the head coach at Florida State. I didn't know anything about Florida State. I never met Bill Peterson, but I sat next to him, and we got to talking. And he asked me, he said, would you be interested in, he said, I've just lost one of my assistants. Would you be interested in coming to Florida State and working for me? I said, well, I might. I said, well, you know, the thing is, I've been a head coach all my life with small college. I want to be an assistant coach. But I felt like, and my wife and I felt like, if I was ever going to make it big, I better get into a major college, because I haven't ever been to one. You know what? So anyway, my wife and I go down for a visit the next week, and he hires me. But I often wonder, what would my career have been like if the Atlanta Quarterback Club hadn't invited me over? Now listen, why did they invite me? Because the president played at Howard College, where I was coaching, and he wanted his coach there. So years later, thank you, Atlanta Quarterback Club. You know Burt Reynolds, right? Burt Reynolds, back in the 70s, was the leading box office attraction in the world. For about 4 years, he was #1, you know. Made those Smoke in the Banquet movies, and a lot of other ones, The Longest Yard, you know. And he played football at Florida State. Now, he started as a freshman. Tore his knee up out of football. Goes off and tries to do something else, and then decides to give it another try. Had his knee operated on, came back to Florida State, and got hurt again. So he just did not have a career in football, you know. So then he goes into the movies. He wants to act, you know. And so he becomes very successful in that field. Now, he loved Florida State football. And when I became the head football coach at Florida State, he used to come down every year and go to a ball game. Well, he'd come down, and I'd take him in my office, me and him sit there and shoot the bull. Now, if you've seen him on television or on the road, he's exactly what you see. He's a fun-loving guy, has a good time, and if you sit around and talk with him, you're going to laugh, you know. So he'd come down, I'd bring him in my office, and he and I'd tell jokes and tell stories and laugh about the past. And then when I'd go out to warm up on the football field, I'd take him with me. He'd go down the field, watch him, we'd be around those boys, see, and or nobody could get to him. Because if he got in the stands now, he's going to sign autographs all day, you know. So I'd take him down the field with me. Okay, now, that's the way it went. Now, in 1982, we were fixing to play in a bowl. We had about a month before we played in a bowl. I'm sitting in my house that one night. I get a phone, long distance phone call. It's Burt Reynolds. Coach Bowden, we're talking about this and that, and he says, by the way, I don't like our uniforms. Now, this is a true story. I said, well, I don't like them either. He said, well, let's get some new ones. Let's get some new ones. I said, hey, Bert, those things cost money, man. We just replenish. We get about 20 new pair a year and just kind of add. Them things cost a lot of money. I'll pay for them. Woo. Let me go see our athletics. I went to see, Hootie Ingram was our athletic director. Later became AD at Alabama. And I said, hey, Hootie, can alumni buy us uniforms? Yeah, they can buy it. Okay, boy. So I called him. I said, okay, man, we're going to buy uniforms. So the uniforms that you saw us playing in during my career at Florida State were the ones that Bert and I put together. The gold pants, you know, the garnet jersey with the gold helmet with a spear on top. That was our design, you know. Now they've got a little more fancier, you know. But so anyway, he kept up with us. So around in 1980, all right, so we got new uniforms. And we wore those for years. Then about 1988, he calls me again. Let's get some new uniforms. I said, Bert, I like the ones we got. I said, the people can identify us by our uniforms. He said, well, let's get some white ones. He played in white when he went to Florida State, so he wanted one like he. Okay, you're going to pay for it, right? Yeah, you're going to buy us white uniforms. So we bought white uniforms. It's 1988. And if any of you saw us play Clemson in '88, that's when the punt Ruski ran the punt Ruski. We were in white. First time we'd ever played in white, but we won. Well, I had this habit, if I'm going to win, I'm going to just keep playing that color, whatever it is. It happened to be white. And we stayed in that for 6, 7 games and got beat. Went back to my gold, purple, garnet and gold, you know. So anyway, that's twice now he had bought us uniforms. Okay, now we're going to go down to 2006. We're playing Alabama down in Jacksonville, Florida. Alabama don't know it, but that's a home game for us. You know, they thought it was a road game for us. So we're going to play Alabama down in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, Coach, he calls me up again. Bobby, let's get some more uniforms. I said, Bert, we don't need any more uniforms. We got garnet and gold and white. I can piece those things together and get 7 different colors out there on the field. We don't need any more uniforms. Well, I want to give you something. I'm going to send you $75,000. And whatever you need the most, you get it for those boys. I said, okay, it'll be fine, you know. So anyway, the game comes up. We go to Jacksonville, and we go about a couple hours before we play go out to warm up. Bert calls me, and he's in town, going to come to the game. Come by the hotel. We sit there and shoot the bull for about an hour. Then I take him out on the field with me. Now, he wants to go out there and see what I bought him. That's all he wanted to do. So he and I go out there in the middle of the field, you know, and Alabama's warming up down here, and my boys are warming up there. And every time one of my boys comes by, he says, ooh, are them new shoes you got them? Did you get those new shoes in? No, that's the same old shoes we've been wearing. Yeah. Another guy come running by, hey, how about that helmet? Did you get him them helmets? Is that what you did? No, the same old helmets, you know. How about those shoes? Are those the ones did you buy? No. Well, what'd you do with the money? I told you to, whatever you need the most to get it. I said, we did. He said, what'd you do? I said, I gave it to the officials. I'll tell you something that's something I have spoke on a lot because it's so important. The value of athletics to colleges and high schools, the value. There would be some people that would think, oh, football is it's a distraction. It's a distraction for education. We don't need to have football. We don't need to have this, you know. But let me tell you the value of competitive sports. And I'll use the example of football because that's what I coached. I go to Florida State in 1976. I was a head coach at West Virginia University. So I go down to Florida State as a head football coach. Now they had won 0-11, 1-10, 3-8. They won 4 ball games in 3 years. So they fired the dadgum coach, and they hired me down there, you know. And nobody's coming to the games. We got a 40,000 seat stadium. We're averaging 17,000. You have got to fill your stadium. That pays all the bills at Florida State, man. You know it. And so they wasn't filling a stadium. So I'm thinking, man, we got to fill this place up. Well, they gave me 10 complimentary tickets every ball game. I got 10 free tickets, complimentary. Now you can't sell complimentary tickets; it's against the law. But you can give them away, you know. But they were for the family. And so I gave 2 of them to my wife, and I had 2 children living with us at the time. I gave one of them 2 and the other one 2, where they could take a friend. Then I had a neighbor, I gave him 2, you know. Then I had 2 left. Nobody wanted them. I tried to give them to the janitor. I said, hey, here's your 2 tickets tomorrow, baby. I ain't coming. You know? Nobody wanted them. I'm thinking, man, I gotta get somebody in these tickets. We gotta get fans out there, you know. So I go down to the shopping mall, Tallahassee Mall. You know, that's where everybody, day of a game, come in early, you know. Everybody goes to the mall. I'll get rid of them 2 tickets, you know. So I go down there. I got my barber's in there. I'm gonna get a haircut. I pull up right in front of the main door, and I take those tickets and I stick them on the outside of my windshield. Pull that blade up, put that thing down. I said, now somebody will get them tickets, you know. I'll have them 2 there, you know. I go in and get a haircut. I'm in there about an hour. I come out, there's 6 tickets on my windshield. But anyway, but you know what? So the first year at Florida State, we have a losing year. We're 5-6. They'll give me Tallahassee for that 5-6, by the way, because we ain't been winning no damn games. 4 years later, we're undefeated. The president, I used to go out trying to raise money for Florida State with the president, and I've heard him tell this story himself, talking about the value of athletics. When Florida State started winning and got on national television and started going to major bowls, he said, our enrollment just doubled practically. He said, normally in the spring when we have, say, 2,500 applications, openings for students, we couldn't get 25 people that want to come here, you know. We couldn't even fill up our quota. We couldn't even fill up our dorms. You know, we got to fill the dorms. And so he said, but you know, when we started winning ball games and getting on national television, all of a sudden, if we had 25 openings, we had 5,000 applicants from all over the country, you know. And so I learned a big lesson there, man. Yeah, you need athletics, you know. And of course, naturally, it sure is good if you can win. You know, it ain't no fun. That's the only thing about coaching. I loved it. When you win, it just makes you so happy. But you're not as happy as you feel bad when you lose. Losing just kills you. You know what? My son Terry and I is coaching up at Akron University, and my son Jeffrey is coaching up there with him. Tom is retired down there in Panama City. And people ask me, well, how does he like Akron? Well, Akron is a school that they won 1 game for about 4 years in a row. How would you like Akron? You know? And, but when somebody says, how does he like Akron? When he wins, he loves it. But when you lose, you wouldn't be happy in Hawaii. You know, if you lose ball games, you know. So it's all built around that. But I admire you coaches. I bet you got a heck of a future ahead of you. And these are good-looking boys that y'all introduced today. God, you know, now that I don't coach anymore, I coached for 57 years. been out of it for 6. When I see young men like this, that makes me wish I was coaching again, you know what? I wish I could coach guys like that. But anyway, congratulations to all of you. Let's see what I want to talk about. Florida State, I think Florida, they better watch out for Florida State. Best team I've seen so far has been Alabama, and that's probably, everybody probably agrees with that. Alabama is so solid. That coach does such a great job over there. One of his greatest attributes is his ability to recognize talent, you know, to recognize talent. A lot of coaches go out and sign the most popular boy, and he maybe ain't the best, you know. You better recognize, you better evaluate your players, you know what? And I think he does about as good a job as that as anybody in the country. And then another thing about Alabama, they give him everything he wants. I bet your university don't do that. You know, I've always felt like, I know my numbers are going to be kind of vague, but there are probably 10, maybe 12 schools in the nation that have a chance of winning a national championship. The rest of them don't have a chance. They're going to get close. Some of them are going to be better some years than others. But there's probably about 12 of them. They've got the kind of program, they've got the kind of opportunity where you can win a national championship. Alabama's one of them. I think Auburn is too, you know. But I think Georgia is. I've always felt that way about Georgia, you know. The coach that you've got here now, I really believe he's going to do a good job. He was with me about 10 years ago. I was very impressed with him, you know, and he's done a great job under a master, and now he's over here giving it to the University of Georgia. And when I was coming up, you know, my first head coaching job was in Georgia. A lot of you didn't know that. South Georgia College, Douglas, Georgia. We used to have junior college football in Georgia. Did you know that? And I got the head coach down there in 1955. I was 25. They offered me the head football, head basketball. As soon as I mentioned basketball, everybody starts laughing. Why do you do that? But anyway, I was athletic director, head football, head basketball coach. I had to take basketball to get football, so I took it, you know. And so I coached basketball my first year, and I didn't really think I did that. We were 10-10, you know, lost 10 on the road and lost 10 at home. But I was the AD, so I fired me. And hired Vince Gibson. You remember Vince? Vince, the head coach at Kansas State, the head coach at Louisville, the head coach at Tulane. He died about 3 years ago. He and I were high school friends. But anyway, he came and did a doggone good job. But anyway, that's where I got started, South Georgia College. Why? Such great memories. Bobby Dodd was up here at Tech, and who the heck was it? Who?
Butts.
Yeah, Wally Butts. Yeah, he was at Georgia, you know. So we used to go up and watch Tech practice, and used to go up and watch Georgia practice. I learned a lot of football like that. What else I want to talk about? Oh, golly. The biggest change in college football. It has changed, boy. It's the best I've ever seen it. It's the most exciting I've ever seen college football. Why? Scrambling quarterbacks. Is he a scrambler? Are you a scrambler? Ah, good. You're going to make somebody a good choice, man. You know what? But I can't. You know, here's Florida State started a freshman last week. And dadgummit, he scrambled a lot, but he pulled the game out. Then I watched the quarterback at Texas, freshman. Then I watched some of these other quarterbacks, freshmen, you know, and I can't believe it, you know. But I saw the best one last Thursday night I've ever seen. Did y'all see him? That kid at Louisville, you watch him. I tell you, if he don't get hurt, I don't know how to stop him. I mean, that kid can fly, and he is quick as a cat, and he's got a shotgun right there. You know what? And if you could have seen him the other night, it's unbelievable. First 3 times he touched the ball, scored. Ran about 62 yards with one of them. One of them he only ran about 18 yards. Jumped completely over a tackle. He was running the ball. This guy came up to tackle him. He jumped completely over him, over the top. Hit on his feet and ran for a touchdown. I never seen it that good, you know. But that's what's making football so exciting now. These quarterbacks that can get in the dadgum game and a play breaks down. Nobody get open. And he breaks loose about 12, 13, 15 yards, you know. That's kind of made it kind of exciting. And that's why defenses are having a hard time stopping them. That's what football is nowadays. Our offensive people have found out, well, gosh, if I get these little old 245-pound breakaway guys and put him way out there by himself and put this one way out here by himself and this one way over here and this way over here, now the defense got to spit out there and get all them guys. They can't cover them. They can't cover them. They're too quick. They're too fast, you know. And somebody asked me the other day, mentioned that, I talked to a writer back there, that football goes in cycles. For 10 years, the defense will dominate. You remember back when they had all the 7-6 games? 3-0. I remember watching Georgia Tech and Auburn play back in I think around 58. Auburn won the national championship. They beat Tech 3-0. You know, we don't see that anymore, do we? No, now it's 55-40 or something like that. You know? But it runs in cycles where the offense, right now we're in an offensive cycle. I can't believe these scores we're seeing today. You know what? Now defense. Somebody asked, well, how's the defense going to change it? I tell you how they can change it. Take them 240-pound linebackers out and get them 190-pound linebacker that can fly. That's the only way you're going to be able to cover them guys. You know what? And I see that happening. We played in Nebraska, Florida State 7 times. You know what? Back in the 70s and 80s, you don't beat Nebraska. I mean, they won 3 national championships in 4 years, you know. And but we played them and we beat them about 3 or 4 times in a row, beating them in bowl games, you know. And Tom Osborne he said, Bobby, can I come by and watch y'all coach? Can I come by and sit in on your meetings? Well, yeah, we don't play him every year, so yeah, you can come down there. So he came down and spent 2 or 3 days with us. He went out on the field, watched us work out, and sat in our staff meetings. And what he saw was we had speed. My linebackers could run. They might have been 200, 205, 210, but they wasn't 250, you know. So he goes back to Nebraska, and he takes them big old corn-fed boys they got that weigh about 250 pounds out and puts those little old 190-pound defensive backs that are strong in their linebacker where they can run with you, you know. And I didn't want to play them no more, you know. So I dropped them. Anytime they beat me, I dropped them. Well, that's the way when Tommy was at Clemson, we beat him the first 4 out of 5 years. Then he beat me the last 4 out of 5. I dropped him. I wasn't going to keep playing him. He's going to do something like that. Football in Florida is real good. Not because we have better players, but we have more than you got. I don't know how many boys you'll have in your state that sign national major scholarships. We'll have twice that many down there. Why? What's the population of Georgia? 6 million? 5 million? Well, it's 19 million in Florida. See, we got so many more boys. We got so many more boys. And recruiting is a game of numbers. You know, if I could sign 100 guys and you can't sign but 80, I'll probably beat you. You know, just that extra number. So one of them will turn out real doggone good that the other guys didn't get. But there are a lot of good football players. When I went to Florida to coach in '76, there were 3 1A schools. Now there's 7. Now there's 7 1A schools, you know. So football has gotten real good down there. National championships from 1983 till about 2000, the state of Florida won the national championship every 3rd year. Either Miami or Florida, state of Florida won the national championship every 3rd year. You know what? Now, I don't think that's happening now. Although Florida State won one not too long ago, you know. But the football down there is good. Of course, kids are going all over the country. How much time I got left?
Yeah, we'll take a few questions.
Huh?
Take a few questions if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine. You want to go and get some questions? Y'all want to, okay, you want to ask some questions? Because if I tell another story, it can last 10 minutes. Yeah, sure will. That was an interesting thing. Marshall University is in West Virginia. It's in Huntington. I was up in Morgantown. We were in the north part of the state, and they were down the southern part of the state. We didn't play Marshall. We didn't play Marshall. Marshall's playing, we played East Carolina one Saturday and flew home. They played them the next Saturday and flew home and crashed, hit the mountain. Came in, hit the mountain on a storm. Everybody got killed on that plane. Now, I was offered that job 2 years before. They offered me that job first. I was an assistant at West Virginia. I turned it down because I thought I might get a bigger job. And I'm sure glad I did, because the boy that took that job, they all got killed on that plane. So anyway, now they had a boy on the Marshall staff, a coach on the staff, who I had coached at Florida State, Red Dawson, from Valdosta, Georgia. Red graduated from Florida State. He played pro ball about 3 years. Then he became an assistant coach at Marshall. Now, he was over there, but he decided to drive back where he could recruit. So the plane flew back, and they all got killed. He drove back and survived. When I saw it on television, I said, "Boy, I hope Red didn't get killed." Well, he didn't. He survived. That's the connection that got him up there with me. Because the new coach that comes in and takes the job. Red says, we can go up to West Virginia. Remember, he ain't got no players. What do you do when your plane crashes and kills every varsity guy you got? All he's got about 40 freshmen around there, you know. So he had to build his little freshman. And he liked our offense at Florida State, West Virginia. So Red called me, "Can we come up there and look at your film and study what y'all are doing?" "Yeah, you sure can." So I let them come up. I gave them a film to look at, let them watch practice. They stayed about 2 or 3 days, went back home. So that's what that was all about, you know what? And I think we put a cross on our helmets just for them, a green cross, you know. Somebody said we offered to play a game for them. No, we didn't do that. And a lot of people talk about how sweet I was to do that. I hate to tell them we don't play them. You think if I had played them, I'd let them come and study our offense? But anyway, that's the way that came about, and it worked out. Who else? Anybody?
Coach, with all the coaches in your family, what is the family dinner around your house like?
Scored who wins, boy. Well, you're right. If any of us all got to, you know, Terry was the head coach at Auburn. Tommy was the head coach at Tulane and Clemson. Jeffrey was my offensive coordinator for years. My oldest son did not coach. My oldest daughter married a coach who was on Auburn staff and also Clemson staff, you know. So when we're all sitting around the table, naturally the conversation is going to get back to football, you know. And this next story I'm going to tell you is about half true. Tommy, like all other stuff I told you. Tommy was the head coach at Tulane, and he gets the head job at Clemson. So he goes up to Clemson. Well, we got to play Clemson. That's the way the father-son. The first father-son game should have been me and Terry. But Auburn dropped us. You know. So it ended up me and Tommy. And so Tommy goes up to Clemson. So he and I get together. Hey Tommy, since we play y'all next year and y'all play us, if you'll send me your brochure, I'll send you ours. Okay. And so we'll just swap brochures, you know. I can send you mine as you send me yours. Okay, we'll send them. So I say, "Tommy, where do I send it?" He said, "Just put Tommy Bowden, Clemson, South Carolina." I said, "You mean it'll get to you?" "Oh, yeah. Everybody knows me up there." They all know me. "Yeah, just put Clemson, South Carolina." I said, "Okay." He said, "Where do you want me to send mine?" I said, "Just put Bobby Bowden, USA." But let me tell you, I told that joke to a group one time, and you know what? Some lady sent me a letter that had Bobby Bowden, USA, and it got to me. Yes, sir.
Coach Bob, we have these great players that are on honor today. What advice would you give them in selecting the best college for them to go to along
What would I tell them? Well, I would tell them, number one, that's a good question. And I have an answer that I have made many times. Because when I was coaching, many times I would have a mother call me who didn't have a husband. And there's a lot of them in our country today. And she'd call me or write me. I didn't know her. She just knew about me. Coach Bowden, I'm raising a 15-year-old son, and I don't have a husband. He doesn't have a daddy. What can I tell him to make him a success? I would tell them the same story every time. I'd say, you tell your son to get his priorities in order. You can't let him go out there and just kind of do whatever he wants to do. Get priorities in life. Tell him his number one priority is God. What do you mean priority is God? You tell him don't do nothing if he doesn't think God would mind him doing it. I said, if he wants to go out with his buddies, ask yourself, do you think God would mind me doing this? Yeah, he wouldn't mind me. He wouldn't mind. Well, do it. Do I think God would mind me doing this? No, I don't think he'd want me to do it. Don't do it. You know? And then, second priority is your mama and daddy. Your family, that's number two. Before you do anything, just ask yourself, would my daddy or mother mind me doing this? If they don't mind, you do it, son. We got conscience. We've all got a conscience. You know, we know what right and wrong is. Why do we wait till dark to do wrong? You know, we know what's right and wrong. And so if you feel like it's okay with him, do it. You know, then I'd say then your next is education. Get your education. This next is other people. You know, then somewhere down there, football or basketball or track or music, whatever you like. You know, but just keep them in order. Keep them in order, and I think you'll be okay. That's what I tell them. Y'all give up?
Coach, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In this day and age, there's some amount of people who want to, I call it disrespect the flag. If you were coaching today, one of your players refused to stand up for the national anthem, how would you handle that as a head football coach at Florida State or wherever?
That is a great question. That is a great question. I would try to sell my boys on standing up. I'd talk to them before with the men when they play the Star Spangled Banner. I wish you would do this. Why? Because this is what our nation has done. I know our nation's not perfect. I know we're not perfect. You know, but I would try to. I said, if you want to protest it another way. Find another way to protest it. But let's don't go out there in front of thousands of people and get some of them mad at you, make them mad at you and not like you. But again, that's a good question. And the young man has a right. He has a right to do that. And but again, I would try to sell him, son, do it another way, find another way. You know, that's what I'd try to do. But that's a very sensitive thing, you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.